In this video, I'll give you a lesson on how to play the Revolutionary War duty call, the Reveille. Reveille was used to signal the start of the day, when the men woke up and the guards ceased challenging. It was also used to signal the bayonet charge. While a very important call, the level of difficulty means that it should be the 7th duty call you learn and the 17th overall lesson. Make sure you have your drumsticks and drum or drum head set up. In this lesson, I'll play to demonstrate phrases and then give you time to play along to music or audio. This version comes from the Young Drummer's Assistant, identical to Potter's 1815 British source. It is very similar to the American 1869 version in Strube that is commonly played today as a drum solo. Note, you should know how to play the 5-stroke roll, 10-stroke roll, and 11-stroke roll before playing. If you don't, check out my videos, 5s, lesson 11, and 10s and 11s, lesson 16. The English Reveille breaks down into 3 lines. Line A, B, and C. Line A and B are basically the same as each other, just line A uses 11-stroke rolls and B uses 10-stroke rolls. To learn both, it's actually helpful to start by playing a basic version of the line. The basic line breaks down into 2 rhythms, a short form and a long form. The short form you've already learned in lesson 14 for the Common Time March. What we'll do is play a right stroke followed by a left hand 5 and then a right hand 5. So right stroke, left 5, right 5. In the basic line, we play that phrase twice over. So let's work on the timing of putting 2 of those together. So we play our right and then 2 5s. We have a full beat of rest, and then we start. So together it'll sound like this. Rest. It's important to get that full rest in there right now, because later we're going to be inserting a roll. So if you're rushing from the first rhythm to the second rhythm, you're not going to be affording yourself enough time to get the full roll played correctly. So again, it'll sound like this. Rest. The second rhythm is just a longer form of the first one. So this time we're still going to start with the right stroke, followed by a left 5 and a right 5. I'm going to play another set of 5s, and then a third set of 5s. So altogether you play 3 pairs or 6 total, however you want to think about it. So again, that'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can either try counting them, or if it's easier for you, I like to focus on what my right hand is doing. So I know that I need to play that first right stroke and then 3 right-handed rolls. So I'll end up having 4 strokes on my right hand, and that's what I prefer to count. But you can also count how many rolls you're doing. Remember, you should always be starting with a right stroke and always ending with a right roll. So if you're ending on your left hand for some reason, you haven't played enough rolls. One more time. So to play the entire basic line, we're going to play the short phrase, that 1 beat of rest, short phrase, 1 beat of rest, and then the long phrase. So the whole thing sounds like this. Start with the right hand, right, 5, 5, rest. Rest, long phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if we were going to repeat back to the beginning, we'd do another 1 beat of rest, and then go back and do the entire thing. So practice that, focusing in just one time through, but if you want to practice repeating, just make sure you're adding that beat of rest. Before you continue on, make sure that you can play the basic line well. If you're having trouble playing your 5s in general, stop and work on those. If you're having a hard time with a longer phrase with stringing your 5s together, make sure you stop and practice that basic line until you get comfortable. If you're not good with your 5s, the rest of this lesson is just going to get progressively more difficult for you. If you are feeling pretty good with the basic line, go ahead and continue, because all we'll be doing is building off of that and continuing to practice it. Line A is just a basic line, but with 11 stroke rolls inserted in those rests. So what we're going to do is play the basic line, but instead of playing those rests, we're going to try to incorporate the 11s. So we'll just start with the beginning to get the idea. So you'll still start with your right stroke and your 2 5-stroke rolls. Now there is a bit of a rest, but instead of playing that full beat of rest, we're going to add the 11. The end of that 11 is now the right stroke that we've been playing. So to show you what I mean, we're going to play the right stroke, 5, 5, a very slight rest into the 11, and then into the 2 5s. So except for that very first right stroke, we're no longer going to play just a single right stroke. So I want you to try just the beginning part of the phrase. Don't worry about that, the end phrase with the multiple 5s. Just try and figure out where that 11 is supposed to fit in there. So again, it's going to sound tap, 5, 5, slight pause, and the 2 5s immediately after the 11. The biggest mistake here is that people will play the 11 and then another right stroke. So make sure that you remember the 11 replaces both the rest and the right stroke. Right, so hopefully that's making sense to you. Now what we're going to do is play the entire basic line, but adding those 11s in along the way. So again, we start with our right stroke and 2 5s, slight pause, 11, 5, 5, slight pause, 11, and now our 6 5s. All right. So that 11 goes in the same spot before the longer phrase. Again, it replaces both the rest and the 1 beat, the right stroke. So I want you to go ahead and try just playing that line one time through, play it a few times, making sure that the 11 feels good, especially that you can play the 11 into those 6 5s. So next what we want to do is practice repeating line A. So when we start the tune, it will always start with the right stroke. But when we go to repeat, we're going to replace the rest at the end of the line and that first right stroke with an 11, just like we've been doing throughout the line. So when we play line A twice, it sounds like this. slow pause, my 11 right into the 2 5s. Now I'm back at the beginning. In the long phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now I want you to try playing that line A twice through. You're going to play it multiple times, but focus on playing it one time, hitting the repeat correctly with the 11, and then finishing it. You can stop, kind of pause and reset, and try playing it at least 4 times twice through the line, getting the 11 in the right spot at the end to repeat back to the beginning. It's really important here that you're making sure that you're not playing an extra right stroke after any of your 11s. So again, the 11 replaces the rest and the right stroke. So now to make sure that you're playing line A correctly and at a good tempo, I'll have you play along with me. We're going to play line A twice through, 4 clicks to start. Line B is identical to line A. The only difference is that we're going to replace our 11-stroke rolls with 10-stroke rolls. And as you learned in the last lesson, there's almost no difference between 10s and 11s, except how they end. So everything else will feel exactly the same. We're just focusing now on, instead of just ending the 11 with that final right stroke, we're ending the 10 with a 2, the left-right stroke. So for right now, we'll start the same. I'm going to start with a right stroke into our 2 5s, at slight pause, and now a 10-stroke roll into our 2 5s, slight pause and a 10-stroke roll, and now our 6 5s. So I want you to play just that one time through, just making sure that you're getting the feel of the 10-stroke roll replacing the 11. So now what we're going to do is play line B, but twice through, so kind of in its whole form. The difference with line B is that instead of starting with a right stroke, we actually start with a 10-stroke roll. And the reason for that is because we've ended line A, we have to replace that rest at the end of line A with something, and instead of replacing it with an 11 to repeat back to the beginning of line A, we replace it with a 10-stroke roll to move us into line B. So if that doesn't make a lot of sense, just think about line B as always starting with a 10, but everything else is like exactly the same. So we're going to play a 10-stroke roll into 2 5s. A little pause, and then same thing. Little pause, now 10-stroke roll into the 6 5s. Now we're at the end of line B, and we have to repeat back to the beginning. So we're going to do the same as we did in A. We're going to play 10-stroke roll, back to the beginning, and 2 5s. Again. Now a little pause, 10-stroke roll, and the 6 5s. So I want you to practice line B twice through. Focus on playing it through twice through, then you can pause and kind of reset. But your goal is to be able to play it continuously, hitting that 10-stroke roll to repeat back to the beginning. And again, to make sure that you're playing line B correctly and at a good tempo, you're going to play along with me. I'll give 4 clicks, and then we'll start on that 10-stroke roll. 3 clicks, and then we'll start with the 10. Line C is basically just line B with a couple of extra 10-stroke rolls. Just so you're aware, not everyone plays line C, but it is good to learn and it's a great practice for your 10-stroke roll. So the way this works is that for all the short phrases, the 10-5-5, we're going to add 2 extra 10-stroke rolls. So it'll sound like this. 10-stroke roll, little pause, another 10, a little pause, another 10, and then into our 2 5s. So all together. So try just that part of the phrase a couple of times. 3 10-stroke rolls, 2 5s, making sure that you're pausing a little bit between each 10. So now to complete line C, we're going to play that phrase you just worked on. So our 3 10s, 2 5s. Slight pause and then repeat it. Slight pause again. And now we're going to play just the end of line B. So it's 1 10-stroke roll, and then our 6 5s. So try playing line C. If you can play it on repeat, so at the end of that 5, you just go right back to the beginning and start with those 3 10s. Try to play it at least twice in a row if you can. And again, to make sure that you're playing line C correctly and at a good tempo, play along with me. 3 clicks, and we'll start with the 10. To play the complete reveille, you'll play it line A twice, line B twice, and then line C twice. Remember that at the very beginning, we play the single right-handed stroke to start line A, but every time after that, we're always replacing those right strokes from the basic line with either an 11-stroke roll or a 10-stroke roll. Reveille AA, BB, CC. 4 clicks. Make sure you can comfortably play along to the recording all the way through before moving on. Once you've got this beating down, move on to the next lesson. If you want a recording of just the full beating, check out my video